This is Michael Rossi, Political Science. I'm just going to read the subtitles of this video. This is the speech Putin gave before he invaded Ukraine. Citizens of Russia, lend me your ears. Citizens of Russia and friends. Okay. My address concerns the events in Ukraine and why this is so important for us. For Russia! Michael Rossi, Political Science. Of course, my message is also addressed to our compatriots in Ukraine. The matter is very serious, needs to be discussed in depth. In such depth, the situation in the Donbass has reached a critical, acute stage. I'm speaking to you directly today, not only to explain what is happening, but also to inform you of the decisions being made. We're going to go in and kill everybody in Ukraine. We're going to kill them all, as well as potential further steps. I would like to empathize again that Ukraine is not just a neighboring country for us. It is an inalienable part of our own history, cultural, and spiritual space. These are our comrades, those dearest to us. Not only colleagues, friends, people who once served together, but also relatives. People bound by blood, by family ties. Basically, Ukraine's our mother, our grandmother, since time immemorial, the people. Oh, man, too quick. Since time immemorial, what? Sorry about this. Maybe I should, knock it off with the damn. We don't need the attempted comic release, you goddamn. Ukraine, it's an inalienable part of our own history, cultural, and spiritual space. These are our comrades, those dearest to us. We love the Ukrainian people that we're genociding. They're not just our colleagues that we genocide. They're also family, people bound by blood. So we're allowed to genocide. Since time immemorial, the people living in the southwest of what historically been Russian land have called themselves. In the southwest of what has historically been Russian land have called themselves Russians and Orthodox Christians. So, yeah, the Ukrainians, they're not Ukrainians at all. Those have been Russians. They're just confused Russians. They didn't know confused Russians or Orthodox Christians. So they're a bunch of super-ass, Christy, Christian, Russian. These Christy-ass Russians just need to come back home. This was the case before the 17th century when a portion of this territory rejoined the Russian state and after. It seems to us that generally speaking we all know these facts, that it's common knowledge. Still, it's necessary to say at least a few words about the history of this issue in order to understand what's happening today, to explain the motives behind Russia's actions and what we aim to achieve. To explain the motives behind Russia's actions, what we aim to achieve. I want to start with the fact that modern Ukraine was entirely created by Russia, or to be more precise, by Bolshevik communist Russia. So, it still sounds like he wants to genocide Ukraine and call them Russia. He wants to take over the entire nation of Russia and keep the land for himself and make sure that they're under the domain of the Russian Empire. So, okay, Ukraine was created by Russia, by the Bolsheviks, by Lenin. It started practically right after the 1917 revolution. So Lenin and his associates did it in a way that was extremely harsh on Russia. It's harsh on the Ukraine by severing what is historically Russian land. So they're going to say that it was they tried to take it over. But the damn Ukrainians, the Ukrainians, so they didn't like that shit. Now we're the Cossacks. We're not fucking Russians. We're Cossacks, you fucking pieces of shit. We've been the Cossacks. We're going to continue to be the Cossacks, you motherfucker. Listen to the national anthem. It says, we're Cossack kin. The last word of the national anthem is "We are Cossack-kin," meaning not Russian. He's talking about a cultural genocide of Ukraine. He wants the idea of Ukraine and the Ukrainian people to exist no more. So at the very least, he's talking about a cultural genocide. At the very most, real fucking genocide. If you want to say that Donbass shit's a genocide, man, it's not a fucking genocide, motherfucker. 14,000 genocides, systemic and mass fucking murder. And so 14,000 over 8 years, that sounds like very sporadic fighting to me. And then 4,000 of those deaths are Ukrainian deaths. So nobody asked the millions of people living there what they thought. So he's saying Lenin started this shit. The fucking communists, the Bolsheviks, he's saying that Lenin created Ukraine instead of bringing them into the Russian people, into the Russian fold. No, they try to bring them into the Russian fold, but they were fucking independence motherfuckers. So what the fuck could he do? What the fuck? I heard the Holodomor, there was one, not just 1932, but there was one in 1921. So, and the independence movement is in conjunction with, I guess you could say the Soviet vacation, the USSRing of, the Ukraine. But just because there's a Soviet Ukraine doesn't mean there wasn't a Ukraine before. When was the first time the Ukraine was ever mentioned as a word? That's my question. And then, because there's people been there forever. And then the people themselves. When was the word created? But when did the people themselves, as a majority, feel like they were all mostly Ukrainian? Then, both before and after the Great Patriotic War, Stalin incorporated in the USSR and transferred to Ukraine some lands that previously belonged to Poland, Romania, and Hungary. In the process, he gave Poland part of what was traditionally German land as compensation. In 1954, Khrushchev took Crimea away from Russia for some reason and also gave it to Ukraine for some reason to, encourage good relationships with the Ukraine. What the fuck? And it was 1957, not 54. In effect, this is how the territory of modern Ukraine was formed. So Lenin created it, said, Ukraine, you get to be your own nation, you're your own country, Ukraine, and Khrushchev says, why not take Crimea? And he's saying, they were Russians the whole time, but if they were Russians the whole time, then how come they didn't just get in line with the Leninists and what have you, huh? But now I'd like to focus the attention on the initial period of the USSR's formation. So in the beginning of the USSR, I believe this is extremely important for us. I have to approach it from a distance, so to speak. I will remind you that after the 1917 October Revolution and the subsequent Civil War, the Bolsheviks set about creating a brand spanking new. They had some rather serious disagreements among themselves on this point. In 1922, Stalin occupied the positions of both the General Secretary of the Russian Communist Party. This is 1922, okay? So Stalin, the Bolsheviks, and he was the People's Commissar for Ethnic Affairs. So the People's Commissar for Ethnic Affairs, basically as soon as you become the People's Commissar for Ethnic Affairs, it's straight to the presidency in Russia. He suggests building the country on the principles of automation, that is, giving the republics, the future administrative and territory entities, broad powers upon joining a unified state. Lenin criticized this plan and suggested making concessions to the nationalists, whom he called independents at the time. So he's talking about the Ukraine and the Estonians and Latvia as independent countries. That's what the hell Lenin is sitting there saying, that these countries are their own countries since 1917, for over 100 fucking years. So Putin is trying to rewind the clock by 100 years. At least. And if it's taken back to the Kievan Rus day, then you're going to have to go back to Sweden, you fucking Swedish Viking fuck. Lenin's ideas of what amounted in essence to a confederative state arrangement and a slogan about the right of nations to self-determination, self upon up to secession were laid in the foundation of Soviet statehood. So they're saying that they're different than the United States of America. It wasn't so much that it was a collection of nation states, but I mean, we're all Americans, but we are, our states run differently. So I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like that, but it's not, because basically the Soviet Empire was allowed to secede and, disintegrate. But America, will we allow it? That's still a question up in the air. Since the Civil War, we said, no, we're not going to allow that shit. But I believe in democracy. So, I mean, we've been America for a while. We, stuck together. It's been a good union. It's been a good run. But anytime Mississippi, you motherfuckers want to go ahead and secede, I will not fight you. So that's all they're saying. Essentially, the Soviet Union is like the American states, but they figured out that they can secede and be their own nation states. If we knew for sure that we could secede and be our own nation state, say we had the protection of China and Russia if we did so, would we do it? I'd be sad to see, Oregon and Alaska go, and Maine. Oh, good old Maine. I've never been there, but I hear they got good lobsters, good democracy, and good weed. Good weed. Initially, they were confirmed in the declaration on the formation of the USSR in 1922. So, the Ukraine was a founding member of the USSR. So, it's like Batman and, the Joker, and the only Batman that I ever recognized, Michael Keaton's Batman. You got the Joker and you got the Batman sitting there saying, well, you made me, well, I made you, well, you made me, I made you. That's just, fuck, but you made me first, motherfucker. Now you made me first. So, yeah, you pile of shit. Hey, he can't have his cake and eat it too. He's trying to say, I mean, if you're going to have cake, you probably should fucking eat it. But you can't have cake and ice cream too, You can't have two goddamn, you can't just take the whole goddamn buffet, you fucking fat fucking piece of shit. He's trying to say it's the Bolsheviks. It's Lenin. Lenin did this shit with the Ukraine. He did it wrong. He said that they were a confederation of states, and then they, voted themselves on out of them. Nah, that's not how it should have been. They should have never been an independent nation. They should have never been the Ukraine. That should have just been Russia from the beginning, from the get-go. Lenin should have just took the Ukraine over and kept it for himself. He tried, you motherfucker, and he failed because the Ukrainian people were proud people in the 1917s. You think their pride has gone down? You think they become less proud people? And later on, after Lenin's death, were enshrined in the 1924 Soviet Constitution. This immediately raises many questions. The first is really the main one. Was it necessary to appease the nationalists to satisfy the ceaselessly growing nationalist ambitions on the outskirts? What was the point of transferring to the newly often arbitrarily formed administrative units, the Union Republics? He wants Russia to go back to the Soviet Union borders, but he doesn't like the Soviet Union. So he wants he wants the cake, and he wants the ice cream, and he wants the fucking cherry on top. He wants every bit of it. The damn Bolsheviks did it all. I mean, they did it right. They did it halfway right, but they did it halfway wrong. Vast territories that had nothing to do with them. How come these damn nationalists, these independent nationalists, got these big fucking, territories, these swaths of nation states just given to the Ukrainians? The Ukraine was given to the Ukrainians. Estonia was just given to the Estonians. He's outraged by this. Let me repeat that these territories, such as Latvia, were transferred along the population of what was historically Russia. Latvia is mine. Estonia is mine. These are all my countries. The world is mine. I mean, Crimea is mine. I'm the American fucking dictator. I'm the American emperor now. What? Oops. Let's roll. Can we roll those comments back? Nobody's paying attention even still. Moreover, these administrative units were de facto given the status and form of national state entities. That raises another question. Why was it necessary to make such generous gifts beyond the wildest dreams of the most zealous nationalist?